happy to have Siddharth with us because he's someone who dreamed, who dared to dream big and, he's made it and is making it. So welcome to the session, Sid.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabin.
Let's start with your territory, that like stock exchange market and investing. So just to begin with, what is your philosophy to begin with when you want to make an investment in the stock market?
Um, so I think that every investment is such a cliched term nowadays. And there are many facets to investment per se, which makes it all the more complicated. But actually, it is very simple. And, I think for every volatile concept like investment, it needs a very base grounded concept to counter it. So you need a strong philosophy to even start on a path of investing is what I believe in. So I took a lot of time, a lot of failures, molded that as well. I think my philosophy is very basic. It is a pursuit of permanence. So in today's world, I think we are in sort of affected by a lot of volatility. There's a lot of changes. So in our hearts, all of us, I think, look for stability. Now, that permanence was my pursuit that I started off with. So my journey started with the pursuit of permanence, as a seeker of permanence. Now, how do you achieve that? You need to either create excellence or associate with excellence. I chose the associating with excellence. And then it became my endeavor to identify institutions that match my definition of excellence and try to associate with it. So basically, if you ask me what my philosophy is, pursuit of permanence, how I tried to achieve that is by associating with excellence.
Well, I picked 2 points from that. Two words you said. One is failure. So let's talk about failure as a it's cliche. We say failure is a stepping stone to success. But how do you look at failures? Did you have any failure in your career, in your decision making? Did you flop somewhere?
Every day. I think failure is just a word. Right? Success and failure, I think, just two sides of a coin. Now, what you take away from success and failure is, I think, what matters. Many times, I feel people get carried away by the feeling of success and the feeling of failure. And it's easier said than done to avoid that. But I think if you can get past that initial emotion attached with success and failure, then you will understand the inherent lessons that are there, which need to be repeated in cases of success or should not be repeated in cases of failure. So my failures are quite legendary. Thankfully, only I know about it. Not many people know about it. People only hear about the success. But what has molded the success is definitely my failure. And I think the first failure is probably as early as the Lehman Brothers collapse. I think that was a failure not only for me, for a lot of people. And the good part is I predicted the exit well. So when the collapse happened, I was safe and probably thriving. But what I think I failed in is I took too much time after that to restart. Because I think that fear complex that came with the collapse of everything, and I think it lasted a little too long in me. So the lesson I took away from that is to, next time the failure happens, to react immediately. Understand that yes, the failure has happened and be prepared for, take action immediately. So I think that was one of my failures where I lost probably 1 to 2 years of a very, very good valuation, which would have enhanced my earning potential if you look at it today. Yeah, so I missed that.
Okay, now before I move on to the art of excellence, you said, let me ask, I've seen a lot of people investing in stock and, sitting hours before the screen, but absolutely I have no idea what they're doing. But let me just ask you, how do you look at the market? Now, how do you make decisions, whether to invest or to pull out? What makes you tick?
So I'm a perpetual buyer. I rarely sell. My first, I think after I conceptualized my philosophy, which was probably 2008, 2009 is when I fructified it and put it on paper. I think my first investment was, which is quite reasonably well known in the investing circles now, was to take a small and very insignificant stake in Bombay Stock Exchange. And why did I do that? I did that because I wanted to associate myself with something permanent. Again, going back to the philosophy. And I realized that I will never be able to create an exchange. Individually, it is impossible, at least for me. So what is the next best thing? I can probably buy a stake in something that is already existing. Now, Bombay Stock Exchange as an institution has been around since 1875. And when generally people say India is doing well, I mean a layman, I'm not talking about an economist or a seasoned person. When a layman talks about India, when they say India is doing well, right from the 90s to 2000s and now, it's generally the Sensex they're talking about. I mean, if you look at it in a very inherent sense. So they say India is doing well when actually it's the Sensex that is doing well. And what is the Sensex? It is a reflection of the Bombay Stock Exchange. So when I got an opportunity to take a very, very small stake in that institution, I grabbed it. And now at that time, Bombay Stock Exchange was, people didn't even know it was a company. And nobody even thought that you could benefit from being associated as an investor. Now, what happened then? The valuation of Bombay Stock Exchange at that time was very, very small. I think it probably was, the market cap of Bombay Stock Exchange as a company was probably 2,000 crore. Now,
1.3 trillion.
It's insignificant. It is insane.
Yeah.
It was insanely of low value. Because you're talking about the premier or one of the two premier barometers of India. Now, in my pursuit of permanence, what can be more permanent than India as an Indian? So when I took a call at that point in time, there was a lot of comments as to it's probably a waste of money. But today, Bombay Stock Exchange is at 85,000 crore market cap. So you're talking about how many times? I can't even calculate. You're talking about 40 times. The value in a period of 15 to 16 years. It's not a surprise because hasn't India's GDP also grown like that? So this was the call that I took at that time, just to give you an example of how I make my decisions. And I haven't pulled out as yet. So it's been 17 years.
So, Siddharth, is it a sheer stroke of luck or wisdom and insight that you decided to take share BSc.
So good fortune is a very primary part of every person's life in any field. Uh, Generally, when a successful person reflects, I'm sure there will be periods of things that he can't explain, he or she can't explain. Investing as a landscape is such a broad, volatile, and I won't use the word risk because I don't believe in that. But it is a very personal landscape because you generally invest in companies that you empathize with as well. So, when you, sorry, what was the question again?
It was luck or wisdom.
So, good fortune
Good fortune, rather.
is a very primary concept that I think everybody should believe in. The second one is only good fortune is equal to nothing. So, wisdom is something that is gained and can be gauged only at the end of everything. I believe that I've just started and there's a long way to go, so I don't think it was wisdom. But what I do think is it was an understanding of the fact that, yes, I need to make my good fortune work. All of us have a certain amount in life. But I understood that I need to make it work. I then went on to the next step, which comes back to the philosophy. So good fortune need not mold your philosophy, but can be a part of your philosophy. But for me to identify a company like Bombay Stock, that is one of the companies.
Yeah.
I've been associated with other companies as well, but I just wanted to this sort of conceptualize the example and manifested the method better. So I think for me to arrive at a company like Bombay Stock Exchange, I needed to fully understand my investment philosophy. The pursuit of permanence, the excellence, and the parameters of excellence matched Bombay Stock Exchange as a company and other companies that I'm associated with as well. Sort of, there is a match. So it is a combination of good fortune, it is a combination of research, it is a combination of truly understanding your investment philosophy, which brings me back to the importance of creating an investment philosophy that matches, which is unique. You cannot take anybody else's. You need to do the work.
Yes, Siddharth, you said you took that decision when you're beginning, you're a greenhorn in investing in stock market. Now, but now you're a significant figure in the investment landscape. Now when you take a decision, I'm sorry. When you take a decision, what is the difference? That this is not the old Siddharth who is going to be, venturing out, adventurous. As a person, as an investor, have you changed? And your philosophy, not philosophy, it's not changed, but the method.
Everything else remains intact. Unfortunately, my success at identifying unheard of companies has gone down. Because you have all these, in today's world, algorithms play a very, very prominent role. So there are algorithms that track investors. So unfortunately, when I start buying, immediately the cost of the share goes up. And it becomes difficult for me to complete that acquisition. So that's a inherent
That's
flaw.
our topic, the AI algorithm influencing the investment decisions.
Which has impeded a person like me. But of course, it is the future, it is the present, and it will probably define how decisions are made, not only in investment, but I think the world across. So I think my philosophy and my method remains the same, but execution of that method has become very difficult. So I may not be ever able to match the 40,000% earnings in 15 years. That may reduce, but I'm looking forward to the challenge. We'll see.
Do you depend on AI tools to make
I don't even have social media.
I know it. It's difficult to track him down. So, so
And so when I tell people to SMS me, they find it difficult to understand what SMS is. So everybody is about WhatsApp. I don't even have WhatsApp. So
is it because you want to focus on what you're doing, or to weed out
it
distractions?
helps me to reduce the clutter.
Okay, the focus on
And this is individual. I'm not saying that this is something that everybody should do, but it helps me.
Okay, that excellence. We listen. How do you define excellence, and how do you make investment decisions based on your definition of success? Oh, excellence.
So I think this is again a very personal opinion. I think excellence, though it is a very vague concept, I think it has parameters. Especially in an individual, it has parameters. You can say who's an excellent individual, who's not an excellent individual. In firms, it makes it all the more easy because data is available to determine whether it has been sort of exhibiting the parameters of excellence, whether it is, and you can also set a pattern of whether it will. So for me, excellence in a firm, the first parameter that I would look at, and I always look at, is the debt level in a company. I look at how much the short-term debt is, how much the long-term debt is. Short-term debt is manageable. Long-term debt is a strict no-no for me.
No, yeah.
The second thing I look at is the age of the company, how long it has been in existence. The youngest company in my portfolio is 38 years old.
Oh. Okay.
So that is one. What helps is that if you know the management of the company, and I mean really know, not just read about them, know, and whether the board consists of people that match your code of honor.
Yeah.
I think that helps. But it's very rare to know the board members so intimately. And I think one aspect that I individually look at is I think the excellence has a pattern, but I think it is most evident on the fabric of humility.
Of course.
So I like companies that are down to earth in their expectation.
Rooted.
And with the age helps as well. But I don't like companies that for no reason go from 0 to 5 billion in 1 year.
Okay.
I generally don't identify with companies like that, though it has made a lot of people successful, and I'm very happy for them. But I, per se, for one, take 3 to 4 years to even buy. So if the company is still existing after 3 to 4 years, then maybe I can consider. But you have many companies that don't exist after the initial euphoria. So so I like humility in its slight sense.
I was running a sports magazine in the Middle East in the early 2000s. When we approach for advertisements, they say, the big company, they say, come back after 2 Eid. Let's see whether you'd last that long,
This was in Dubai, is it?
Dubai, yeah. So they say, come back after 2 Eid. Let's see whether
I
you're
have
there.
heard stories of 2004 to 2008. Let me give you a perspective. In Dubai, was the biggest boom ever. So I started, in my pursuit of permanence, I needed capital. So I started a trading company there with the help of a lot of people. And that company from 2004 to 2008, it went from 0 to 250 million dirhams. Now that was Dubai. And I was probably the smallest of everybody. But what helped me is I exited at the right time. I think that is...
2008, we had that recession, right?
The Lehman Brothers collapse.
Brothers
That was the first failure I was talking about.
I closed on my magazine in 2008, so came back.
I'm sorry for that.
That's fine. But then the next question, so you don't look at the startups, right? You don't look at startup. You are not a startup investor.
See, no, that is, I think, I've said that on public platforms, but I think I've been misunderstood. I am all for a great startup that I identify with. So if there is a firm or there's a group of people who have started a company that resonate with my values of my parameters of excellence, I will definitely consider it. If not invest, at least mentor them.
Yeah, okay.
So there have been a lot of people who have approached, but I find I haven't yet found that X factor.
Yeah, okay. Now, let's look at the Indian stock exchange landmark of the market. So how do you feel? I mean, the changing political scenario, a lot of things are happening in India as it is happening around the world. How does it, influence, if is it at all influences you, your investment decisions, and how excited are you about India and Indian market?
I think India's GDP growth itself, I'm sure, has excited a lot of all of us here for us to become the 4.1, 4.2 trillion economy from what we were 20 years back. And I think, I mean, we have all these terms being put as developed nation by 2047, but I'm trying to put it in numbers. For us to reach 30 trillion, which is the goal in 2047 or earlier, we need to grow at 12.5 to 14% in terms of annual GDP from here. The projected GDP growth in this budget is 6.75 to 7. Now, how do we bridge this 6% to 7% gap, which is effectively double? I believe that there is only one way, and I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I'm not a naysayer. I think we can definitely reach there. We've got 15 years to, we've got 22 years to go, and we've got 25 trillion to bridge. How do we do this? I believe two factors. One is our human capital, which has become, which has evolved, and it is evolving every day. I do not think there is a mass of population like what India has, and specifically because the world is moving from China, or specifically America is moving from China, or trying to move from China. India, I don't think there is any other mass of population as qualified, as capable as India, because where else would you go for 1.5 billion people which are talented in STEM and as an added advantage speak English which is the world language now. So the second thing is, I think, the integration of artificial intelligence. Okay. I think this is a game changer. I think, see, earlier technology used to be considered a sector. Now it is an integrator. It has become part and parcel of everything. Industry. I think AI, I read a report by, I think it was the World Bank or the IMF, I'm not sure. But it was very specific in India's adoption of AI. It said that an average Indian has reduced 2.5 hours in a day because of adoption of AI. Now AI has entered our lives probably in the last 3 to 4 years, I think. So it has already happened. So the productivity of every Indian individual has increased. So it's similar to a snowball. At the top of a hill, it starts off small, and then it sort of rolls and rolls and becomes bigger, and then you can't stop the speed. So I believe that these are the two X factors that the government should and needs to encourage for us to reach this seemingly insurmountable 30 trillion target.
Let me ask something? uh, are you an opportunist investor? Investing in a volatile market, seeing some opportunity, or as you said, you look for the, whether they are rooted or not. Are you impulsive investor in that way? If yes,
I am an opportunistic buyer
opportunity.
because I have already identified the companies that I'm going to invest in. The volatility helps me in entering them at a lower price than what I would have if it was stable. So if there is a interest rate decision that has gone wrong and the market thinks it's bad, if there is a fall, say for 1 week, and if I feel that the fundamentals of the economy and the company are right, I will buy. But if the overall landscape of that particular company has changed and the overall landscape of the country has changed, maybe I will finally think of selling.
Now, you mentioned America, changes in America. As an investor, as a buyer, how concerned are you? The changes in the geopolitics, especially in the Middle East and all that.
This is a fantastic question, and this is something that I think not only us here, I think everybody in the world, Trump 2.0 is a very repeated word nowadays. And as our external affairs minister said, I think this is completely out of syllabus. We have no clue. But having said that, I think what has happened is a wave of nationalism. So whether that will result in the world becoming full of silos and full of walls, we will need to wait and watch. But whatever happens, I think India is probably the best position to deal with this. Again, because of the quality of the human capital. I think very few nations, we probably should worry the least about any global macro changes. But yes, it is a challenge, and I think it is an exciting challenge. All the intellectuals, all the governments, all the economists, I'm sure are having a field day in trying to chart the future, because this is actually uncharted territory.
Okay, now Siddharth, you said patriotism. I pick on that word and extend it to cultural difference. So as a buyer, as an investor, you have a conglomerate. How do you look at these cultural differences in your investment decisions?
Very simple. For me, as an investor, if you narrow it down to brass tacks and numbers, it's black and white. So whichever jurisdiction I am in, follow the rules, set the landscape. So the first thing that we do is when we set up a firm in a different country, the first thing that we do is we get our taxation indexes in place. We do a basic study about the jurisprudence prevailing there, and we hire the best. So we are a very lean team. So we have to hire the best associates that we have in terms of taxation, in terms of legality, in terms of following corporate governance. So it's very easy. The culture is reflected in the rules. So whenever you go to any country, adapt, integrate, follow the rules. Very simple.
That takes me to the next, and what I want to hear from you, because we have different definitions and models of leaders. Some say some leaders are very, very control freaks. Some are micromanagement and all that. What kind of a leader are you, and do you have any role model as a leader? Because you have a company that, spreads across many continents and stuff like that.
Okay. So, I believe all of us have heard about the alpha type of leader. We have also heard about the beta type of leader. But I believe that in today's world, what works is something different. I believe that what works today is something called the Omega leader. I think the Omega leader is most aptly positioned to take any company or institution or country forward. So, and I think that the biggest and the most important quality of an Omega leader is in appreciating his or her journey, but also understanding that everybody else's journey is also important to them. It is not only your journey that should resonate. It is a combination of everybody's aspirations, everybody's journey. So I think the biggest thing, the adage that the Omega leader should follow is give respect and do not expect respect back. Earn it. I think that should be the basic philosophy of leadership, in my opinion.
And that takes us to human capital. You said excellence, human capital. Now you have a team. You are investing in that team. You said, no, you're giving them respect. You're trying to earn respect. So how do you retain them? Because it's just a rat race. The market is a rat race, and people are moving from here to there. And how do you hold them back? Do you want to hold them back, or you let them go?
I haven't faced that situation as yet. I've been very fortunate, thankfully. Most of them are here. It's a very good question. I'm trying to figure out what makes it tick. So, you said that I invest in them.
You do,
I
right?
believe that they invest in me as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, there must have been some vibration that happened at the first interview or meeting or association that made it not a one-way relationship but a two-way. So as I know that my fortunes depend on the team, I presume that the team also understands that their aspirations and fortunes are tied to the firm, and probably to a little extent me, because I am probably at the apex. And I think when all of us merge as a group at the board level, it becomes, all these people are not like-minded people. I don't think that my team has a lot of people like me or I am like them. I think we complement each other. I believe that the best board for proper corporate governance should have the right amount of yeses and the right amount of no's. And then the casting vote can be with the chairman or whoever the leader is. But I believe it is very, very, very important for the group of people to exercise their right to opinions about every aspect of the company and what the company does. So I believe it is a microcosm of the word democracy itself.
Thank you. Another question is that you've got engineering background, then you move to business management studies. So, how has it helped in taking decisions? Your engineering education, then your management education. So, is there a combo to take decision?
First of all, I think people will think it's a joke that you did engineering, then you did this, now you're this. But I guess that's what life takes you. And I think when I did my undergrad, there was only two. There was engineering and there was medicine. I chose engineering because it was shorter. And then I think once I finished, how engineering helped me is we had probably to make the routine, because I believe that in the 4 years we had around 60, 65 examinations. And I don't know how it is now, but this was then. And we had to actually do well in each of those. So you got that routine set. Every 4 months we had a public examination, which sort of oriented you to life in the future. And probably numbers, the familiarity with numbers helped, I think. And I was a civil engineer, so the different views, top view and front
Oh,
view also
yeah.
helped, I guess, of looking at a problem
Give you a
differently.
kind of orientation of.
I guess, I'm not sure. And then when I did my international business and then I did one more MBA, it sort of corroborated the numbers. That's the only explanation I can give you, but I'm just hitting in the dark here.
Yeah, let me dig deep. And there are youngsters here, and I mean, it's a cliched question. Would they advise to the youngsters, or when they also dare to dream big? I mean, what should they look? I mean,
I think it'll be preposterous for me to give advice. I don't know whether I'm that worthy, but I think I believe in a very, um, how do I put it, very important line that important to me. I believe that initiative is something that sets the tone for your life and any action that you do. But I believe that the intensity of your initiative should necessarily be tempered with clarity of purpose. So it's great that you dream, it's fine. But if you want to follow up on that dream, I believe that you should actually ask yourself, why? So if I want to start, one dream could be I want to become successful. I think the very important question that you need to ask is why? Why do you want to become successful? What do you intend to do? And then the how will manifest. So I think the only suggestion I can give to people who are listening is to have a dream, but also understand that having a dream does not necessarily mean that it is a good thing. Having a dream and having clarity of purpose as to why you want to execute the dream is probably the best combination.
okay, let me take you away from stock market investment. Let me ask you some more societal questions. And you're involved in a lot of community activities. You are a philanthropist. But let me start with education. You get involved in Chinmay School. I mean, so how do you look at education?
Uh,
I mean, it's a
it,
very basic question.
I know.
But then,
See, I think we
I mean,
wouldn't
do
be
we
where
need
we are.
changes in our education system? Or
I think it is evolving itself. If you had asked me this question 25 years back, I would have said different answer. But I think the different boards, CBSE, ICSE, and even the metric and the state board, I think they're evolving. I think they understand the concept of the need for change. And I'm happy with that, which probably is reflecting also in our country's growth. We are, I think, on our way to becoming the largest provider of quality human capital in the world, to the world. So I believe that's a very great place to be.
and philanthropy. You are involved in so many organizations and giving.
Not enough, I think.
Let me focus on that word giving. How do you look at the process and the philosophy of giving?
I think you make money so you can give, so you can make more. I think that's the only thing. It's a positive loop. And I firmly believe this. I believe that you have three words that my philanthropic process and our foundation also believes in is you empathize, you empanel, and you empower. So we are not people who go to the nitty-gritties of any philanthropic organization's work. But what we do is we empathize with them and we pass on our energy to them. Then the empanelment is the most important thing here. So I was referring to the clarity of purpose. Once you empathize with a certain cause, it's very important to understand what the veracity of that cause is, what institution is carrying out and expediting that cause, how effective it is going to be in the future, how is the team like. So that is the empanelment process that we follow. And finally, it is the empowerment. So once you decide on the empanelment, then you have to empower, no matter what happens. So the major decision making in my philanthropic initiatives will be the empathizing and the empanelment. The empowering is then a constant process once we decide.
And yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, let me just quickly take you back to a couple of decision-making process in the investment. We discussed about ESG or the green energy, the new landscape. Are you excited about investing into that sector or?
Um, Definitely, but I haven't yet found a company that actually says what, actually
Yeah.
does what it
What
says.
says, yeah.
I'm waiting for that. But yes, it is the way forward for our world. For us to survive on this planet Earth, I think sustainability and as a correlation, environment protection is absolutely essential. So I'm looking for credible companies, big institutions to convert, number one, and new institutions to start.
And how do you look at Kerala? People say that Kerala is not good for investment. We're trying to change that belief or that size. So how do you look at what is our future?
I disagree. I think it's a very, very, I've, I've been asked this and I firmly believe this. I think it is a misunderstanding that Kerala is not good for business because the other day, let me tell you about the quality of the people in Kerala. I was called to preside over an event in Dubai with NASCOM. And we had the executive council sitting, and there were around 17 people. And we were doing the rounds. The consul general was with me, and who's a Malayali, by the way, in Dubai. And he was introducing me to each and every person. Every person I was introduced to, the first 10 people were Malayalis. And these are all chairpersons and chairmans of IBM, of SAP. You're talking about Asia, you're talking about the world. That is the quality of manpower here. So it is, I think, a huge misnomer that this state is not ready for business. It has always been ready for business. I think the mix between a person intending to do business and the state's aspirations itself probably need to be managed better. But once that happens,
Are you looking at Kerala as a?
so Kerala has always been, my India headquarters is Kerala. So my holding company has been here. We ourselves have invested into various projects. Our foundation is based in Kerala. So that loop is closed. My dream, I think, is to create a Kerala-centric private equity firm
Okay.
based out of Kerala. I hope it will fructify someday. Let's see.
And you were born in Trivandrum.
Yes.
So it's come back to his, city of birth, but he's based in Cochin. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is Siddharth Balachandran. I opened it, for Q&A if you want to ask anything about investment, leadership.
Actually, in your dialogues, you mentioned that AI came along in the past 4 years. Before AI, it was Web3, right? And you mentioned yourself as an opportunistic buyer. Essentially, when Web3 came up, there was no other easy get-rich scheme as, the Web3 meme coins and stuff like that. And just in the past month, Trump released a meme coin called Trump, which essentially made lots of millionaires overnight. So, the price of blockchains like Solana just went up as well. So, I'd like to know your thoughts on why you haven't entered the Web3 or the NFT spaces. Also, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin as a whole, especially when, famous people like Neville Ravikant and S. Balaji are hyping it up to be the next big thing.
So he even named a government department after a. Okay. So I was talking about the investment philosophy. So I believe definitely that a government-regulated digital currency is the future. There's no doubt about that. Cryptocurrency, unfortunately, at this point in time, does not fulfill that because it is not regulated. So I think for a fundamental-driven investor like what I hope to become at some point, it is very important for me to have an asset class that is regulated. Unfortunately, yes, I probably would have become a billionaire or a trillionaire, but I'm happy where I am because I'm not able to predict the future. At least with the normal asset classes or the regulated asset classes, you have a sense of, how do I put it, not security, but you have a sense of certainty. With Bitcoin specifically, because it is the most popular crypto, you have people boarding the flight as billionaires and ending the flight as bankrupt. So I don't know. I mean, but hopefully, digital currency is the future. Blockchain is a technology that is unparalleled. I hope that governments sort of create a framework in which it can be accepted.
Kerala is a state where we can see a number of scams. People are trapped in financial scams, a lot of offers. Every day one scam, many people, many intelligent people are becoming the victims. But people want to do some investments. I'm an employee. I don't have time for doing research on this. Why don't you open a safe platform for Kerala people, which will be beneficial? Thank you.
Yeah, I think very pertinent question. Scams unfortunately have been part of our ecosystem ever since somebody wanted to do the right thing. There's always somebody to do the wrong thing. But coming to Kerala, it is not something that is prevalent only in Kerala. I think it is world over. Dubai per se also has been home for a lot of scams. But so the safe platform that you're talking about, which I believe that the safest platform is the stock exchanges themselves. And when scams happen there, SEBI is created. So you have actions that have been taken. So my suggestion is, if you don't have time to sort of research and spend on wealth enhancement, probably the first step is to get registered as an investor with a formal platform like either the NSE or the BSE and then you choose effective entry points. So what I would say is an effective entry point is probably a mutual fund. Would be the right way to go about it. And nowadays, I think the mutual fund industry itself has become so beautiful and so deregulated that it's easy for everybody to get in. I myself did not go through that route because my interests were different. I believed in individual investing right from the beginning, but I think the logical start to a regulated investment journey should be the stock exchange as a platform.
I have seen that your major shareholding is in BSE for many years. My question is that NSE is coming for listing. So there is a general talk that BSE is currently overvalued. Its P is more than 80. But the NSE is coming for IPO. It's currently available in the unlisted space, around a valuation of 35 PE. My question is, how do you see this unlisted space whether you will consider switching from BSc to NSc. That's my first question. Second question is, currently, even though in the January our market has been down by about 10 to 20 percentage in small cap, mid cap. My question is, which other economy than India you consider as undervalued and there is scope for growth?
So, very, very pertinent question, especially in today's times. I think NSE is, and by the way, BSE, I'm known for BSE because that is the only public listed company that I've invested in. I hold a stake in NSE as well, which is not yet listed. So it is not, it has come in some news snippets, but it is not published as in terms of portfolio additions. So I have already taken interest and associated myself with National Stock Exchange. Now, to give you a difference about these two, National Stock Exchange is 93% of the Indian market. I believe if at all it lists, as and when it lists, it is going to be a very, very watershed moment in India's stock investment landscape. So whether I will shift from BSE to NSE, no, I will not do that. Because if I can have both, why will I choose one? Very simple question. So I think you have, India itself is on an elastic path. I don't think you can predict where India is going to end up in terms of a plateau. If you're saying 30 trillion is going to be the GDP, the stock market's market capitalization of all the companies in it is itself around 5.5 to 6 trillion, which is number 4 in the world. So you're talking about GDP to India's GDP to the stock market market cap of around 125% is the ratio. The US at its peak was 275%. So we have a long way to go in terms of value. So people who say that any company in India is overvalued, and that to a company like BSE, which reflects India in its entirety, I believe that they may be mistaken, but this is entirely my opinion. So I would want to keep both because I want to own a piece of my country. And I believe that as and when NSE lists, or even before it lists, I believe that it reflects India as a whole. So I don't want part of India, I want whole of India. That's my thought process.
Hello, sir. My name is Binil. I used to work for a port authority in Nova Scotia, Canada. It's named Sydney Port Project. It's an $800 million project towards the future. And while raising their funds, one of their main demands were to actually acquire a contract from India, like from Adani Group. So they were successful in raising like at least 200 million for the project. But what they mentioned is that with the contract successful with Adani Group, they will be able to lock in at least an investment of 300 million plus. So in contrast with that, how do you see the potential of India as a global supplier in the future? Also seeing the like global political environment changing dramatically as well.
Canada and India, that's very interesting nowadays. So there's always entertainment there. But see, I think specifically in terms of how India, I believe that yes, I said India is going to become the provider of human capital, quality human capital. But I also believe that once that system, that framework is established, which may take a few years, the next step is that India will become the provider of capital per se. So I believe that there is an influx, and it is very well documented, the kind of PE firms and sovereign wealth funds that are looking at India per se as a market has increased and is increasing by the day. So you have Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, which is the sovereign wealth fund. They have very strong ties with India. Temasek, which is Singapore's the sovereign wealth fund, has great. Malaysia. So you've got every sovereign wealth fund in the world. I'm not saying shifting from China, but looking at India more interestingly, in a more interested manner. So, and this is primarily because of our capital, our human capital. You go to any, and this is also a well-documented fact. I think Forbes, the Fortune 100 companies have, if I'm not mistaken, at least 75 companies are headed by an Indian origin person or an Indian person. So it is, once this is established all over the world as providers of quality human capital, the next step is, because our forex reserves, touch wood, are doing reasonably well. The rupee is a concern, which hopefully will be addressed in due course. But once we cross that 1 trillion in foreign reserves, I think we will become a provider of human capital in a more consistent manner annually.